It's been a hot minute since I've been to a cryptid related event. I missed it. That's it. That's my intro. Hey, I'm Amanda, you're watching Swell Entertainment, and today I'm coming to you from Ocala, Florida to talk about the Great Florida Bigfoot Conference. Which, when I told people I was coming to a Bigfoot event in Florida, a lot of my friends were like, they have Bigfoot out there? Yeah. Ocala National Forest, I believe, is why they chose this place specifically. There's actually been some sightings from some of the speakers here specifically. When I do a cryptid video like this or something like this, I believe I did this for Mothman. When it comes to the concept of the existence of Bigfoot, I'm a little more open-minded, solely because I look at, specifically here in the US, some of the incredible national parks and forests that we have and things like that, experiences I have personally had in Joshua Tree and things like that. And I'm like, Bigfoot could be real. It's also just kind of one of those fun things where it's like, it doesn't really hurt anyone really for me to be like, Bigfoot could be real, you know? So I'm kind of cool with it. Do I think that Bigfoot is more likely than, say, aliens? Probably not. I think it's narcissistic for man to believe we're the only beings in the galaxy, intelligent beings in the galaxy. It's one of those things where it's like, but really quick, let's talk about something you definitely don't have to hunt for. Great finishes with the Mia 3 from Lilo. There's a lot of things to be stressed out at this time of year about, okay? Taxes, Q2, Coachella for some people, okay? So why not have some things that you don't have to be stressed about, like your pleasure time, okay? And Lilo is here to help. Whether you prefer your time alone or with a partner, Lilo has long established itself as the leading luxury pleasure brand, leading the industry in design, innovation, technology, and reputation. They're not just a pleasure toy brand, they are a self-care movement. They offer luxurious designs for a premium experience, and they have a 10-year warranty on all of their products. This time, Lilo sent me their Mia 3, a sleek and discreet pleasure companion. The lipstick-inspired style offers powerful and silent vibrations, and it comes in 3 colors. Obviously, it's super compact and discreet, so perfect for on the go, whether for a purse, backpack, suitcase. But even what's better is you don't need a bunch of cables and cords to charge this one. USB charger. If you'd like to try the Mia 3 for yourself, you can go ahead and click the link in the description box, so pleasure is always within reach. And thank you to Lilo for sponsoring this video. I did want to double check because we've been getting quite a lot of viewer recommended videos lately, so I want to make sure I checked this one. So this was recommended by Katie. Katie had not gone, but she said that this event reminded her of my UFO con video that I did way back in 2020. So here we are. I guess other cryptid / paranormal supernatural events I've done is Penhurst Paracon, UFO Con, Raid of Area 51, Mothman Festival, and then this. Yeah, I want to do Squonkapalooza, but I still haven't done Squonkapalooza. We'll see if I'm able to do it this year. I was not able to make time last year. But yes, Bigfoot. So me and Sparkly decided to do the VIP ticket for me because, one, typically what I do, but also we were very curious what that would entail. So for my VIP ticket, it got me a goodie bag, a VIP dinner the night before the conference, a lanyard, and I got to skip the line for the conference, and I believe it got me a reserved seat for the conference itself. For that, it was $175. I paid for that on the 22nd of March, so I don't know if that would have been cheaper if I'd gone earlier, but still. Do I think it was necessarily worth that? Again, conference, I'm going to give them the grace of the fact that it's a conference. I always assume that if you're going to call something a conference, you're going to add a little more extra money onto it, but I will say, comparatively, to walk up and just walk up as general admission day of, $30. Here's my lanyard. I never put my name on it, but it's got AI art, lots of AI art at this event. First and foremost, Bigfoot people love a bumper sticker. Like driving into this parking lot, I went to the wrong parking lot first because this was at the World Equestrian Center. Beautiful venue. Oh my God. I would actually come back here for like an equestrian event or something just to see how they utilize this venue because it is stunning and sprawling. I'm used to things being a little smaller. We do have land in California for horses and things like that, but like this was beautiful and stunning to the point that they had not 1 but 2 expo halls on the grounds. And so I went to the wrong expo hall first for the dinner because I just straight up got from the airport, got my rental car and drove my ass out here because I'm 2 hours away from the airport so I wouldn't miss the dinner. And I went to the wrong expo first. I went to Expo 1. It's an Expo 2. Fairly standard expo hall space for any event. Just big open warehouse. They did pretty well, especially since this is one talk space. I think something like this is fine where they're not really worried about like sound pollution for like multiple stages or anything like that because obviously one big stage. Was it a little hard to hear people talk and things like that? And then sometimes during the talks, even though I was sat very close to the front, I could overhear a lot of talking from behind. There was a bit of an echo just because it's a big concrete space. But I think it's fine. Like the noise complaint issues are like very minimal and just things where it's like, it's fine because you don't have other stages. If there was another talk or anything like that, definitely might be an issue. If anything, I would recommend for future events to maybe do a separate space or area that's like smaller maybe for more like research tips, gear breakdowns, things like that. A little bit more niche down how-to style talks in another space might be good, just to kind of give people a little bit of more time, because the conference was really like maybe 5-minute gaps, if that, okay? And people would come and go. The crowds thinned out a lot. It was very crowded in the morning, thinned out a lot by the afternoon. I left a little bit early because I think I got everything I needed, and there was only like, I was like halfway through the last talk. I was like, I'm done. But I think something that's a little bit more niche down, a little bit more like how to, especially because a lot of the vendors had things that were like, so you want to get started with Bigfoot hunting and research. Here's how you do research. Here's how you gather evidence, things like that. I think doing more talks like that in another space would be really good, because some people just want to hear people's stories and encounters and their life stories and their research, etc. And some people are really like, this is my passion. I'm going to get evidence. I'm going to do this. And I think that that would be a good time to like utilize a different space. But first, the dinner. RPG is the one that is the host of the event. And he introduced all of the speakers one by one. All the speakers talked. One of the speakers has been on Wife Swap, which I don't know. I know I have some mutuals that have done some wife swap videos. That seems like relevant information to them. He is now encouraging people to get out there and go adventure and learn and find things out about Bigfoot and the like. Went through the whole lineup of the speakers, the lineup of a Skunk a roundtable they were going to be doing. They had 2 different versions of Bigfoot like suits that were of people in the suits walking around getting photos. They had a big blow up spots to get photos, but it was all AI art, so I was like not super keen on getting photos on any of those spots, but people were very sweet. This is one of those instances where I do look at, you know, different groups of different elements of paranormal, supernatural, cryptid, truthers, because the vibes are just different regardless of where you go. With the ghost hunting paranormal thing, like when I went to Penhurst Paracon, everyone was very much like, there was a good mix of people that have been doing this their whole lives, people that just got interested in it because COVID made everyone deal with their mortality, okay, in rapid succession. And so they really got into like paranormal research and like finding out more about the paranormal. And so there was a lot of newbies around, and then a lot of people that were just like, maybe, you know, so they were like really interested in that. When I went to Alien Con back in 2020, that one was very hush hush, awkward. Someone saw me filming and put up a sign that said no filming. It was a lot more cloak and dagger for the alien talkers, which makes sense. And I would like to go and revisit that world now, because I haven't since lockdown, and who knows what that would be. That's 5 years ago now for me. They were just very cloak and dagger. And like, there were speakers that were like begging in their talks, like, hey, we have to be okay with people coming in and doing interviews and asking questions and filming. We can't just be hesitant of everyone that wants to learn more or question our methods, because we're gonna die out. Look around this room. Like things like that were very common for like individual speakers. And like, I remember individuals were like very welcoming. Like I sat in on an experiencer, like basically group therapy session, and I didn't film in this session. I asked for permission to be there. I explained who I was, and I was like, I just want to listen and learn, basically. But as a whole, it was very much like, what are you doing here? Okay. And then here, everyone's like, well, you're here. Do you believe in Bigfoot? I assume you do. And I was like, oh, I'm open. And they were like, oh, skeptic. And I was like, no, I'm just open. And they were like, I get what you mean, which I think is interesting, because now it's kind of like, I do feel like growing up, when I would look at any form of shows on Discovery Channel or the Travel Channel or anything like that, they would very much be like, you are either a believer or you are a skeptic, and there is nothing in between. Where most people here, I felt, were very much like, no, I'm a researcher. I'm open. I would like to believe, you know, or they're just straight up like, I have seen proof. I had that aha moment. That's what they called it, the aha moment, where it's like, you know, these things are out there. And I find that really interesting to just see the different dynamics in the different groups. Mothman Festival, for example, was a lot of people that had their own experiences. There was a lot of people from Point Pleasant who had their own sightings or had their own beliefs around what happened with the Mothman and the bridge collapse and everything like that. and or people that were sharing their own experiences with alien abductions or alien sightings and things like that. But as a whole, it was very much like, it was like a street fair. Like it was like a swap meet, and it was just kind of like a variety of people coming together because Mothman's caked up, you know, it was a lot of that, okay? It's just interesting to see the different dynamics. I'm curious about Skunkapalooza. I'm curious about the Jersey Devil, you know, I'm curious about the different groups of different people. And I definitely need to do another alien event, because clearly if I saw that difference for myself between like online discussions of paranormal and going to a Penhurst Paracon in person, to see that difference in how the COVID and other world events have affected the alien community, I think would be very interesting. So that was a tangent, but I feel it's relevant, okay? But my point is this was not one of those instances where I felt like I had to lie about my own beliefs or anything like that when it came to, you know, paranormal things. But the first night dinner was catered by the World Equestrian Center, their restaurant on site, I believe. They did the intros. They gave us the chance to go and line up and do photos. I did do photos with all the speakers, so there's that. It was one camera, one photo for everything, which I do find interesting and smart, because it sounds like they just took way too long last year. And so they were like, we've learned our lesson. It doesn't matter how many people are in your party, one camera. You don't get 4 different phones, 5 different angles, no. And then I left. I went and got to my hotel and checked in. But what was great about also being VIP is that I got my lanyard and I could just walk in first thing this morning. Security inside. They had EMS. I'll take it. Would I have liked something? Sure. But again, we're in Florida. I just walked around the little exhibitor hall for a bit and just kind of like made my rounds, figured everything out. Lots of handmade Bigfoot merchandise, lots of different research books, self-published books, fiction, nonfiction. Someone had a Crypted dad joke book that I was like tempted. And then we just kind of started the day with a lot of talk. First, we had opening with RPG, and those were his actual initials. He was definitely a good host, I would say. He just had a lot of energy. Clearly very passionate about everything, has done some TV time and things like that. Previously was on Expedition Bigfoot with another one of the speakers, and apparently either she could not keep him on, production didn't want him to stay on, but he kept making jokes about how he is no longer on the show, okay, which I did find a little funny that there was a through line. Oh, should I talk about the issues? So, I have a digital assistant named Sparkly. That's not Sparkly's real name, but it's funnier for me to call them Sparkly. I was at another event when we were booking all this. I think this was literally like the night before I went to JonasCon. I think I had just gotten to New Jersey. So after buying the ticket, Sparkly said, also apparently the Bigfoot people have had some drama with a guy demanding to be a speaker. And I was like, ooh, fun. This is from March 5th. Hello followers, this is Nikki Beatty, the owner of Gather Up Events, the ones putting on the event. After 6 years, let's finally address the Bigfoot in the room as to why we have not invited a certain skunk aper to speak at our event. Since day one, this guy has been negative about this event, us, and our speakers, and it continues yearly. He has organized protests, smear campaigns, and now is trying to get people to call in to demand he is involved. How funny that we haven't received a single call. So here's the question. Do we continue to ignore him, or should I dig up all of our past screenshots and make this a thing? And they posted numerous screenshots. So apparently his name is David, and he posted, I have been researching skunk apes longer than anyone in the state of Florida, but I have never been asked to speak at the Florida Bigfoot Conference. Extremely disrespectful of them. Have you asked to speak? I'm going to go through more of the screenshots, but this is one of the things, because I'm seeing this as well with like VidCon happening as well, where I'm seeing some creators where it's like, I can't believe they haven't asked me to like be a featured creator or anything like that yet. Do they know who you are? Have you made yourself aware to them? Because you, in your circles, you are a big deal. Yes. But in the general circles of business, conventions, the content creator scheme as a whole, are you that big of a person? You know what I'm saying? Sometimes they just don't even know that you're interested in that type of event. They may think you're too busy because you didn't tell them, you know, like, I don't know. Have you requested to speak? It sounds like maybe he has, but it seems he's specifically annoyed he's not been asked to speak. Someone suggested he make his own conference and name it something else so that it's all about you and your research, which just make a YouTube channel at that point. And he replies, finally, after years, they have one speaker this year on the agenda that is knowledge, and he is Herbert Jim. Till now, they have never had anyone that actually has a working knowledge of what's going on. I am finding more and more in the Bigfoot community, there is a complete lack of respect, and it's mostly media-driven personalities like the Finding Bigfoot people. My plan here in retirement is to create a learning environment for people who are interested in the field of Bigfoot research that includes respecting our natural resources and also the people who live here in the great state of Florida. The last time I spoke out the Bigfoot Conference contacted a family member and threatened to sue us because I was destroying their event. I do not take things like that lightly, and it will never be forgotten. He speaks very highly of Herbert Jim, which, I mean, we're going to talk about him in a second. I'm calling them as soon as I find their number, someone said. And then someone gives the number and then asks when Dave is going to speak because you want to be there when he does. I highly recommend anyone who feels like calling them, ask them why I'm not there. They have lied to newspapers and reporters about why I'm not there and made up horrible stories about me. So don't be surprised if they call me a monster and a troublemaker. Side note, I heard no one make a comment about you while I was there. I sat through most of the talks. I don't think your name came up. It didn't come up during the VIP dinner. Now, granted, I didn't talk to everyone individually. Didn't bait anyone, but I did not hear your name in anyone's mouths, if that makes you feel better. Or not. I'm very confused what's happening here a little bit. And then Nikki replied and said, Dave, you can't talk shit about every speaker that has ever been on stage and call in protesters, then expect to get an invite. It's not that hard of a concept. Respect is earned, not given, and you don't respect us, our organization, literally two people who work their asses off from home on this, and our speakers, and still think you'll get stage time. Maybe it's time for us to publicly post our side. Keep it up. And then he's saying that they're threatening him, which again, I'm seeing just Facebook messages. I've not seen any other posts about it. So that's that. But I wanted to make the note just in case one of you was like, I can't believe you didn't talk about this. I did know about this. I went in not planning to stoke anything, and I just wanted to see if anything happened. Nothing did as far as I could see.
I don't know why you guys say I have a weird job. I have a totally normal job. Hi.
Hi, how are you?
Good. I found you.
Yes.
Oh, you did the video. Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
With the lanyard, it was nice. There was no line. I didn't have to wait. I just went in. Lots of, pieces, 3D printed pieces. The exhibitor prices were actually fairly reasonable, I would say, especially for an event of this size. It might be cheaper. I don't know. Here are the prices for the event itself to have a vendor booth and such. But if you are a researcher, and there was someone who had a background in forensics and was trying to talk specifically about casting and how to do casting, because there's a couple of different clear evidences of Bigfoot that everyone seems to go off of. If you have ever looked into any shows or Bigfoot evidence whatsoever, you may know the Peterson film. That's the big one, I would say, where people point to that one. There's been evidence back and forth of who believes what. Mostly everyone here was talking about how truthful pieces of this is like the best piece of evidence, and it's been the most investigated piece of media that there is. A lot of the other pieces of evidence are whooping sounds specifically. I'm not quite sure why. Knocks, like something that implies intelligent life, like a knock. Whistling was mentioned in multiple encounters, which I did find interesting. Trees being moved, like big trees either being broken off or moved, specifically in X formations, which this was the least compelling to me. I mean, I guess in theory, yes. The concept of trees being picked up and moved is a scary concept, especially when they're giant and heavy and way larger than a human man, okay? Or anyone. But least compelling, because I'm like, nature's weird. Sometimes trees fall and then they get stuck because of wind, rain, things like that. The trees are the least compelling to me. Obviously photos, videos, things like that, but also highly unlikely based on the history of Bigfoot, okay, with the lore of investigations, but mostly casting. Casts either of hands, but mostly feet, because obviously, if you're going to use casts as your evidence, okay, I need you to be really good at taking casts and making casts, making molds, making impressions, any of it. I need you to be really good at it.
It's kind of tough to see. That's actually a video that I can't get to click.
Call that one guy. What's his name? Call David. Ask for help. He literally has a book about how to properly make casts. He's apparently on call for some of the researchers to walk like, hey, I found this. Okay, call me. I will help you know how to do this properly. I'll take it, because you can't just show me an amorphous blob that I could potentially make out of shitty pizza dough and expect me to believe that that's a handprint. I'm sorry, you just can't. I believe you saw what you think you saw, but I need a little bit clearer than just this impression. Now, some of these footprints that they got casts of are borderline identical, and I did have someone say, oh, I bought these molds and then I made more of them, basically. But he was not trying to say that they were evidence. Some people had their evidence out on their tables, and I was flipping through it and things like that, and some, again, I need proper evidence collection. If you're a researcher, if you're into exploration, exploring, okay? Regardless, whether you're just trying to go to parts unknown or hunt down the great American Bigfoot, okay? I don't mind, but I need proper evidence collection. I need dates. I need locations, GPS coordinates maybe, more than one photo of what you say, found hair, and it's like just like just a clump like this, not labeled. Where was it found? Where do you... Potential findings. Keep a binder. A lot of people had binders, but it was binders of photos and things like that. I'm sorry, I'm micromanaging everyone's research, but like if you are embarking on things where people potentially might call you a quack or say that you are foolish, that was a discussion that was had quite a bit, especially for anyone that was in academia or had come from law enforcement or any form of the sciences, that they had dealt with people telling them, no, don't do this. You're going to ruin your career. This is stupid. You are stupid. That you would take more detailed notes of your findings. And a lot of these people that were doing this were not from a science background. And so we're bridging a gap here. Lots of former law enforcement though, which I don't know what that is. And like RPG said that like when he looks for like who he wants to hear from and the people that he believes the most, he believes apparently first responders, the people that are on the site first, even irregardless of Bigfoot, okay, and what they might be looking for. Them, and then anyone who is very passionate about what they have already seen. So not anyone who's like, I don't know if I want to talk about that, but anyone who's like, yeah, I know what I saw. I don't have photos, but I know what I saw. That's who he believes more than anything. They really emphasize the importance of eyewitness testimony and also the reality that apparently I am statistically more likely to go and see Bigfoot if I go into the woods than my brother or my dad, because I'm a young woman. I did take a note of this because it was an interesting quote. Bigfoots love young girls. He was talking about a group of Girl Scouts that he took with their moms to like do like a little Bigfoot hunt because they really wanted to go do it. He basically was like, potentially Bigfoot will want to be around you guys because you're young girls and you're giggling and laughing, and like if you see people laughing, you want to know what's going on, and Bigfoot are naturally big feet. Everyone said Bigfoots. I don't think it's big feet. Like Mises. He basically was like, if you hear giggling, like they're curious creatures, they want to go see the giggling and things like that. So the quote was, Bigfoots love young girls, women and children specifically, because men are big and scary and we kill things, as to why like women are more likely to see Bigfoot than men are. Did you ever consider that it's not that they think you're a threat, it's that your vibes are bad? Just posing a theory, like maybe they just didn't want to kick it with you. Maybe you don't seem fun. I don't know. All the speakers had their own booths as well, whether to do signings and autographs or photos and talk more with people. I kind of stayed out of this area for the most part when they were there because people were really excited to meet them. I did scope out a few of them, when they weren't in their booths and they were just speaking because there was no line, so I could just go and scope out their booths, obviously. So opening with RPG, then we had encounters hosted by Robert Robinson. And this was one where they literally just asked questions of the audience of who has a story they want to share, who has an encounter they want to share. And they would just go on up and tell their story of experiencing Bigfoot, basically. I do think you guys need to implement a time limit. Rob's whole thing is that he was like, I will not cut you off. I'm just here to hear your story, basically. And he apparently like publishes people's stories and encourages them to send them in and things like that. And pretty much everyone that talked to was like, can you please stop by my booth and so I can get your email and you can like type up your story for me, basically, which I is a great philosophy. Let people talk. We need a time limit though, especially for one of these stories. He was like, okay, I got 2 quick ones, but they're long. Do I want to tell you this? Yeah, it's fine. Not everyone's a storyteller. Just because the format isn't the best does not mean this is not a valuable story to you or to someone in the audience. But I think for the sake of time, staying on schedule and making sure that anyone wants to like talk to maybe have the chance to speak might be good to be like, okay, I will cut you off after 5 minutes though, or something like that, because one of them, I swear he talked for 15 minutes. And that was just one of the stories. But Rob is the one that was on Wife Swap. He talks about it. He was like, I really want to be on television. I thought it'd be cool. Then we had Herbert Jim. So Herbert Jim is a Seminole tribe member. RPG really emphasized the importance of having Herbert there and how they kind of met. He openly says he was like, I was just a white guy traipsing out into the wilderness expecting to see something. And he like talked with others and tribe members, and apparently they were like, yeah, well, when you go somewhere, don't you say hello? Isn't there a greeting? Don't you tell them you're coming, type of thing? And like just kind of discussing the importance of remembering where the fuck you are, basically. Okay. And the fact that if you choose to believe that there might be something out there, that you are now entering into its home. So Herbert came up and did this intro and then told a couple of different stories that were basically just had a pretty clear through line that I felt about respecting what you're told, but also kind of like listening to the science and things like that. I really like the way that Herbert talks and tells the stories, and I just think that that was very impactful, and everyone was really involved in the conversation and really paying attention, and that's always nice to see. Then it was the Skunk Ape Roundtable. I did come back for this. I went and did another lap around the Exhibitor space to see if there's anything else that I missed. I heard someone mention an albino alligator at one point. Yeah, it's here. It's going to go away at this time, but it'll be back. And then I never saw that thing. I don't know if it was there. That may have also been a cryptid. I don't know.
Little albino alligator. They're going to be there until 12 till noon, and then from 2 to 5. So they have to give him a break. He's a little bit of a Devo, and he needs to go out and have his special snacks.
I made a joke because they had soft pretzels. I love soft pretzels. And I was like, I'm gonna get a soft pretzel for lunch because I'm like, wasn't super hungry. But then I saw that the soft pretzels were Bigfoot themed soft pretzels. I, in my infinite wisdom, forgetting the internet has its head in the gutter sometimes, made a joke video about how excited I was about the special big pretzels because they were huge, they're giant. And it's like, oh my God, it's like they knew I was coming, haha. And people just didn't read the caption and didn't realize I was at a Bigfoot festival and thought it was just a foot fetish joke. And that I was just really excited about the foot-shaped pretzel because it was foot-shaped, and not about the fact that it was just a giant soft pretzel. It was delicious. Fluffy, clearly made it that day, right before I got it. But delicious, fantastic, 10/10. No notes, aside from the fact that the internet apparently thinks I have a foot fetish now. I got that pretzel and I went and sat back down and listened to the rest of the Skunk Ape Roundtable. And this was one where people just kind of posed questions from the audience. One of them brought up the findings of the Great Pyramids that just came out, which I believe have already been potentially debunked. I don't know.
Why is it covered up? I think that each and every one of you that are here has a sole purpose, and I think that each and every one of you matter, and I think that if our government can keep us in a state of not thinking about these concepts, that we won't think about the greatness that we're all capable of. And when you start recognizing something like Bigfoot that is supernatural, it breaks the paradigm of everything that we have been indoctrinated to believe. From the time that you're a kid, they strip away that imagination of anything possibly existing. There's a lot of ancient secrets. I mean, gosh, the news that just came out of Giza with the pyramids is gonna blow the lid off of everything we think we knew. Look at Roswell. I mean, I know that's a little aliens, but they supposedly recovered a body then, so I think they have them. The Smithsonian has the bones, and yeah.
I get it. Within these spaces, there's usually a very clear through line of like, the government's lying to us. The theory, okay, is that, and multiple people reference this, especially if you are on television, okay, because to go into a space, you have to get permits from everyone, okay? So let's say you go into the woods to film a show, and you find a dead Bigfoot, get all your footage, and then the government comes in and they're like, no, you didn't. I know what I saw. Is this where your family lives? Is this where blank? X, Y, and Z? And again, that's an example that was given by someone on stage, okay? I believe it was RPG, but don't quote me on that. Basically, the through line is to why would the government cover up anything relating to Bigfoot? Well, national park resources, land, undeveloped land, things like that. The moment that the discussion was, okay, let's say Bigfoot, we are able to prove that Bigfoot is real. Who then owns the force? Bigfoot that is at least semi intelligent, ideally, based on what we're seeing, theoretically. Or, is it just government land? If Bigfoot does exist, it's likely would classify as an endangered species. Now nothing can be developed. Now there's no logging. Now there's no development, X, Y, and Z, and that's why potentially the government is covering up things. Maria, I had no knowledge of going into this. And leaving this, I really like Maria. So Maria is one of the hosts of Expedition Bigfoot, okay? She got up there, and I just figured she's going to talk about that, but I had no idea she was the first female wildlife correspondent for National Geographic. Like, on camera. That's real cool, okay? Because she was talking about, she's an anthropologist, I believe she's a doctor, and she was talking about like when she was first offered the chance to go and investigate and like do Expedition Bigfoot, because she had just done Expedition Africa a few years prior. And multiple people were contacting her and telling her, don't do it. Are you insane? And so she contacted someone that she trusted, that she knew would tell her the truth. And it was Jane Goodall.
I'm going to quote her, so forgive me. She said, "Who gives a shit what other people think?" And that's what I love about Jane. I mean, one of the many things I love about Jane is she doesn't give a shit, because in her career, she faced a lot of criticism, if you can believe that. When I found out just how much she believed in the possibility of Bigfoot, then I said, would you come on to Expedition Bigfoot and share what your thoughts are?
She went through her whole career, the importance of collecting evidence, the importance of being the one to go out and be like, I want to go and study these monkeys. We know they exist. We know these lemurs exist, but we don't have actual studies of them. We have sketches. We don't have any like documentation. Again, this is a multi-decades long career at this point. We're seeing footage from National Geographic of her, studying these animals and discovering an animal in Madagascar and all this stuff. And just like, I don't know, really cool, but also just talking about the importance of evidence and documenting everything, because they found this animal that they believed was a new species that had not been documented before. And so they documented literally everything, set the species free, and then went to the government for Madagascar and was like, hi, look what we found. And apparently got that whole area deemed as a national park for Madagascar and a protected space, which very cool. And which is basically the importance of collecting evidence and making, you'd rather have too much than not enough and everything. Brian King Sharp, some of these bled together. A lot of them were just talking about their own findings, different things, a lot of different research methods and things like that. Again, some are more compelling than others. Charlie Raymond, I believe, was the one who during the VIP dinner said, I have evidence that is so compelling, if you can disprove it, I will give you $500. Come to my talk, you'll hear what it is. So I sat through that whole talk because I would like $500. And he also talked about a couple of different instances of he had been sent photos or had been sent screenshots or PNGs or whatever of images that potentially depicted Bigfoot or Bigfoot-like creatures. And he would try and hunt down for the original SD card or the original image to be able to further deep dive the pixels and everything, because if I zoom in on this, it's going to blur. It's just a screenshot of a photo. There's nothing I can do. And each time he would talk about that, they deleted the photo. Don't have the SD card. He passed away. Things like that, okay? And so apparently he had recorded this audio that sounds like this. I'll insert the clip here, okay? This is what he played.
My recorder records omnidirectional with mics, any direction. I had it over the tree line. I recorded these whoops. If you can prove there's another animal in Kentucky that makes these whoops $500, prove it to me.
And then he found another recording from someone else that they had taken 30, 40 years prior. That is a very similar sound, okay? Now, I immediately started looking up birds. The evidence that he was showing was really highlighting the fact that there was a high pitch and a low pitch in the same sound, basically, that most humans can't do. I actually believe some people who do beatboxing might be able to potentially do this, because they've proven that the sounds that they can make is truly impressive. So I don't know, I certainly can make these noises, but I'm sure there are humans that could potentially find a way to mimic this, at least in some capacity. I don't know though. But birds came to mind, owls came to mind, and then when I was Googling it as well, apparently mammals like dolphins could potentially do something like this. Now, obviously it's or whales potentially. Someone did ask, how do you know someone didn't find the original audio, record it and play it, and then you recorded it, and so it sounds the same because it is the same type of thing. Or he was talking about, or did I do that? That type of thing. As far as I could tell, no one, disproved it. I couldn't identify the exact sound. I was sitting there with my iPhone, held up to my ear to YouTube, listening to 5 minutes of owl noises, just going through different species of owls. Let's say that you were already hunting for Bigfoot. Why would you attribute this to Bigfoot specifically? Is that something that I'm missing? Is that there's a whooping sound that they make? Someone else earlier had said, I have heard wild boars make roar like a lion. If you don't know that boars can make that sound, of course you're going to think that a roar coming from the woods is Bigfoot, if that's what you're looking for. It's kind of the concept of like, if your hooves in Central Park don't think zebras, essentially. But again, we're dealing with Bigfoot, so it's like, might be zebras. And then they had the silent auction. Now, the silent auction I did peek at. I'm doing a no buy year still. I did held firm. None of the magnets tickled my interest, so I didn't buy anything. And then it was time for Biko. Biko has been on Alone and is now on Expedition Bigfoot. And he was mostly talking about how important it was for him to like learn to really live off the land and be self-sufficient, and like going through like what his different training was, like catching his own food and single person traps and things like that for food, etc. And so that was interesting, but that was towards the end. And so I just kind of left. Would I come back? Yes. Would I like to see more? Yes. I do think you could do more. You may not want to do more. Totally valid. But there seemed to be a good amount of vendors that were selling things like how to get started with making casts, how to do, your own research. So you want to be a Bigfoot hunter, things like that, that I think you could have a separate space that is like a little more workshop-y type of style. That could really be good. And that would also like really justify the price of VIP. Just saying. I don't know what else you could do to make VIP more worth it. It's like we get an extra dinner the night before. I think that's fine. But like $30 compared to $140 for VIP. Overall, had fun. Inside, they had food options for like the convention hall, and they did the fun thing with the pretzels, which I did think was fun. I didn't know they were going to do that, but that's fun. And yeah, that's probably going to be it. What do you think of Bigfoot? What do you think of the drama leading up to this event? What do you think about me micromanaging people's research habits? Let me know. Comment down below. Reminder, I stream on Twitch. Reminder that Swell Entertainment is now available on Spotify. Reminder to use code SWELL for 10% off on gamer subs. Shout out to my channel members. If you also support me on channel memberships, you can go ahead and click join down below. Like to follow me on all social media. That'll be all up here. And that's what we had Helpful today. Squatch you later. Bye. That was bad. That was stupid. I'm gonna go put myself in timeout for the squatcha later joke, but I feel like I was so good about not making any Bigfoot puns this entire video. I deserve one.